Welcome into Between the Lines, and today we have another instant reaction. We have another superstar in the NBA, or some would say superstar, maybe not in the eyes of our two podcasters here, but a big star in the NBA just got traded. LaMelo Ball, formerly of the Charlotte Hornets, is now a Minnesota Timberwolf, the newest co-star teammate alongside Anthony Edwards. Just traded this morning, and the trade package that we have here is the Hornets are sending out LaMelo Ball and Josh Green to the Timberwolves, and in return, the Hornets are receiving Naz Reid. They're receiving a 2033 unprotected first round pick, three second round picks in 2029, 32, and 33, and then three first round pick swap opportunities in 2028, 29, and 30. So, Tish, we'll just get your thoughts first. Your just like overall thoughts on the trade. Do you think like one side in particular won it? Do you think it was too much of a haul? Not enough? Just your overall thoughts on it.
I mean, I think, the trade in theory makes sense for both sides to an extent. Like, I feel like the Wolves, it's kind of confusing because they just signed Ayo Dosunmu to like a long-term extension just a couple of days ago. And the biggest problem was like the Wolves need another ball handler to take the pressure off of Ant. And we thought Ayo was going to be that guy, but then they bring in LaMelo, who he is going to be a ball handler. That's what he's been in his career. So, it is what they needed to an extent, but I don't know. It's a bit questionable for me because I'm going to give LaMelo some benefit of the doubt. Up until this year, he's never had an entirely, even remotely like competent roster around him. I'll give him that much credit. But even this year, where he had some good pieces around him, like they made it to the 9 seed, lost in the play-in. Like I've never seen LaMelo Ball really be serious about basketball, if that makes sense. So this is maybe a bit of a cultural thing, or just like off the court stuff. I don't know, but. Whereas like a guy like Anthony Edwards, who's probably one of the most competitive guys in the entire league, I don't know how this is going to fit. And then to me, the underrated part about this trade, I don't think the picks are a huge deal. Anyways, the Wolves picks are kind of late first round, just going to be like depth pieces. And then pick swaps, like, okay, maybe they'll move back like probably 10 picks in the round. Not a huge deal, but giving up Naz Reid is the biggest blow in my opinion because they already have a depleted front court. Ever since they traded Cat to the Knicks, it's just been bad in the front court. And they have like an Asian Rudy Gobert who's probably got like one, maybe two, I'd say one like peak season, not even peak, just like starting season left in him. And now they give up Naz Reid, former Six Man of the Year winner, to the Hornets, like probably their only young, good big. I don't really like that aspect of the trade, but we'll see how it fits. LaMelo, if he does shift his play style, just being purely a ball handler and playmaker, I think it could work out in the long run for the Wolves to kind of take some pressure off of Ant. But if he continues his like notorious shot chucking, like I don't like it at all. But I guess we'll see. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, first of all, we talked about this right before, and you mentioned how LaMelo Ball, he's never been part of a winning team. We did this in a previous pod episode, so I'm not gonna go through the whole list of his like career again and go through everything, but he hasn't won anything relative in his career, relative to like the expectations of him, relative to where his team has been positioned in the different leagues he's been in. Um, and this year we talked about okay, like or the Hornets have finally put together a team around him. That's something that like people are looking at it from the outside, saying, okay, like by society and everything, this is a team that can actually do something, maybe make the playoffs, and they're just barely scraping the play-in as a 9 seed, and then they're celebrated so much for getting a 1 point or 2 point victory over a Miami Heat team. Keep in mind, this Miami Heat team is considered so bad that they added a two-time MVP yesterday or 2 days ago, and probably a top five, top six player in the world currently, and people still have a hard time believing they can barely scrape into the playoffs or barely win a round or two in the playoffs. That's how terrible that Heat team is. So I don't, and then the second they play the Magic in the next round, they get absolutely blown out. So this still isn't a guy that we've seen like give true winning hoops in a setting where like both teams have like stakes on the table and both teams. Well, I mean, I won't say that because like obviously there's stakes in the plane, but where both teams are really competitive and have a chance to like win something. And obviously he's going to the Minnesota Timberwolves team that's been in the playoffs the last three or more than the last 3 years, made it to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row before this year. Had a long series against the eventual Western Conference champions this year in the Spurs. So it's just I don't understand the move from the Timberwolves perspective. I guess like you do want, especially moving off of Julius Randle and you like get some of that cap space. That's good to make a move, and obviously you needed that space to be able to make this move happen. But this is a team that, especially under the new owners, Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry, obviously they've been more comfortable going to the luxury tax spending, right? This is their third straight year in the luxury tax, and previously an ownership group that didn't want to pay that at all in the Wolves. So it's good for that, and I'm glad for Ant because he's able to get an ownership group that's able to support him and be able to like go into like paying more money to be able to get stars for him. But I'm just pulling up the depth chart now, and like you mentioned, I think one of the biggest issues with this is the fact they're giving up Naz Reid. You already paid all this money to Ayo Dosunmu. You're now just gonna have him come off the bench as like your backup guard because you don't want to have to be starting three guards, right? Obviously, LaMelo and Ant too, like both of them are a little bit like oversized for their position, so that's good. Maybe you could scale it up to like Ayo at the one, and then like Lamelo or Ant playing the three, and then the other one playing the two or something like that. But then what do you do with Jaden McDaniels? Do you play him at the four? He's already like slightly undersized for a three, just in terms of his frame, but he's really gonna be undersized in terms of a four position. That's previously what you had with Naz Reid, and then Rudy Gobert at the five. Obviously, you're just gonna have him there, but like, how long is it gonna take for him to develop a connection with LaMelo? And like, he already hasn't had the greatest of connections with his current like point guards, like Mike Conley. Like, they're not always able to like feed him like the amount of alley oops that you'd probably expect from a guy that's like 7'2". How long is it gonna take for him to develop his chemistry with LaMelo, like Ayo Dosunmu, guys like that? So just from looking at it from their roster point of view, like I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the thinking is there. It's a confusing move to me. It's a move to me that signals. It's very reminiscent of what the Bucks were trying to do with the last couple years of Giannis, starting roughly in like 2021 onwards. 2021, he's a little bit non-committal about his future with the team, and then that's one of the first times he mentions like I always want to be in Milwaukee as long as we're competing for championships. Always putting that qualifier as long as we're competing for championships. And they go out to make the move for Drew Holiday, and obviously pays off for a championship. Similarly, a few years later, he's a little bit non-committal about his future with the team. They go out and make the move for Damian Lillard. People thought it was going to result in a championship or at least a deep playoff run. They couldn't even get out of the first round those years. Same thing, recent months, he was making those types of comments, and then they probably ownership and the front office probably got sick of it and said, okay, it's best to just cut our ties and move on. I mean, there hasn't been any public sentiments from Ant talking about, like, this is a directive for me to ownership directly. You guys have to go out and make these moves to compete. But I mean, we've seen reports of it, but we've never heard it from him directly like we heard it from Giannis. Could this be something where the Wolves were a little bit afraid? Okay, is he going to be the next type of superstar in a small market team to decide to want out if we're not doing enough for him? So I mean, that was a lot of like thoughts on it, and especially with like Ant being like one of my favorite players. I do want to see him win a championship, and I just don't think I think this move maybe gets you closer than you were with Julius Randle. That's another aspect of it. You can touch on like the difference in now having like LaMelo as your co-star instead of Julius Randle, but I just don't think this gets you that much closer to a championship than having a Julius Randle by your side does.
Yeah, it's I don't know, like the fact that this is a probably a quote unquote like win now move. Like LaMelo Ball and win now don't really fit in the same sentence to me. So I mean he's still young, this team definitely can get better for sure. I mean, I'm excited about those LaMelo Ball to Anthony Edwards alley oops. I'll say that. That could be some nice highlights there. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of funny. They're both like 2020 rookies, front runners for rookie of the year. Now they're on the same team. I don't really know. I think like if LaMelo does adjust his play style to being like a pure ball handler and playmaker, like we saw this year where, when he was given some winning pieces, he did improve. Like he's been a notorious like shot chucker, which I mean he still was this year. Like I think third or fourth in 3-pointers attempted per game, but like above 100th in like shooting percentage from three, so not great. But his turnover numbers dropped a bit. And anyone with like a high usage rate, they always have high turnovers. So it's not a huge deal. But even with like a better team around him, they didn't even make it out the play-in. And kind of like you were saying earlier, Jay, off the mic, like we've seen players with lesser rosters, like true superstars in the league. We're not even like the level of like LeBron James, like that level of stardom, just like even worse guys. Like, I mean, looking at like the Pacers, for example, like a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, like led them to the finals with like, obviously that roster is a bit better than the Hornets, but it's not a great roster by any means. So we've seen like guys make runs with bad teams. It's not like a unique thing that happens. And so like LaMelo, like getting glazed for taking a team like losing in the play-in doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but I don't know. The drivers of, the streets of Minnesota got to watch out. It's a bit more dangerous there, but I guess we'll see how this trade pans out in the future. Could be nice to get another ball handler next to Ant, but like I thought they were freeing up the cap space by getting off of Randall for like getting someone like Kevin Durant, maybe someone else in the front court, or like definitely not a guard. I ruled that out once they like extended Ayo Dosunmu. That was like, okay, no way they get a guard. Well, Melo wasn't even like in the picture for me at least. Maybe I don't know ball, but I didn't see that happening at all.
No, I mean, I didn't. I mean, I don't think any of us like saw it coming until we got that report from Shams yesterday, right? Obviously, like around the time of the
Yeah.
second round of the draft, he says, like the Hornets have actively been shopping LaMelo Ball and they're interested in trade talks with him. So I don't think any of us saw this coming in terms of a trade perspective for LaMelo. But like you said, I don't think I think there's a multitude of moves the Wolves could have made this season or this offseason that could have put them in a better position next season to potentially contend for a championship. Like if you're putting that in with like an upgrade at the guard position with Ayodasumo starting. Obviously, he had some Mike Conley minutes last season. He wasn't necessarily starting so much because he had Dante DiVincenzo, but potentially could you have maybe a slight upgrade or at least an equal from with Ayodasumo in place of Dante DiVincenzo and upgrading over Mike Conley minutes from the bench. You're gonna have improvement from a guy like Anthony Edwards that's entering like year six or so of his career, and he's gonna be like fully entering like his prime now. I think he's like starting to reach that. If he hasn't like reached that already in this past year, we've seen a lot of like improvements in his shooting and things like that. A guy like Naz Reid, who would have been like starting this year, probably giving them like quality minutes in that like four position or in the four role or in the backup five role. And then a guy like Jaden McDaniels, I think we saw he showcases true ability to be able to be a true ball handler and like somewhat of an engine of an offense in certain times and select times of the game. I don't think he could do it over an 82 game regular season, let alone like a 16 game like postseason run or more than 16 game postseason run. But I think he showcased some good ability to be able to be the lead ball handler and things like that. If he needs to like give Ayodasumo or Anthony Edwards like give them some relief in the clutch or things like that. And you take all that and you throw a huge wrench in it by putting the LaMelo Ball like situation in there now. Like you completely have lost the Naz Reid minutes. Who's gonna be your? I don't know who they're gonna have the backup five now. Like is it gonna be like Jon Berenger like their rookie? We're gonna have like slow mo Kyle Anderson like small ball 5 minutes. So I'm not sure like what they're gonna do from a front court perspective. You're gonna have to rely on some of your wings to play a lot more like um, deep minutes. Like if you're gonna have like just like Jaden McDaniels playing at your four or something like that, you're gonna have to have him rotating out with like a guy like Terrence Shannon Jr. or something like that. Kyle Anderson potentially. Yeah, this doesn't make too much sense to me. I'd love to be proven wrong. I mean, I've asked that of LaMelo for many years now. I've never been proven wrong. So why would I expect it to change now? But I do want to see Anthony Edwards win a championship. Hopefully, I'm not gonna go out on a limb and say they're gonna do it with this team, but who knows? They could always prove me wrong. We did see one of our friends said this is going to be a really fun team to watch in the league. That's for sure. I think everyone's going to enjoy watching this team. But yeah, any like final thoughts on the trade before we wrap up this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think like it just all comes down to like until they figure out their front court, I don't think this move really pushes them up in like the tiers of contenders in the West. And I was like, I mean, sure, it's a little better than Randall. I'll give them that, but like I don't think they jump to now like the OKC or Spurs tier by any means. I think they're still like in that tier of like they need like a Cinderella story to make a finals run. So they got to figure out that front court. And then now just like briefly shifting like the Hornets side of things. I actually like this move a lot for the Hornets because I mean, getting that pick in 2033, that's a while from now. So ignoring that, getting Naz Reid, I mean, the biggest problem, I believe they led the league in offensive rebounds with like Musa Diabate, Ryan Kalkbrenner. So they had a really good front court rotation, which was already nice, but they're absolute like cones on offense. They couldn't stretch the floor whatsoever. So, I mean, Naz Reid, who's almost like the polar opposite type of big, he's known for stretching the floor. He's like, they call him like Big Jelly or whatever. Like he's really, he can handle the ball. He can do a lot of things that a lot of bigs can't. He's almost like the perfect complement to that front court. Kind of gives him some like gives Charles Lee some different lineups he can work with. Now he can maybe experiment with like having two because they could never run Kalkbrenner and Diabate at the same time. It would be horrible for the offense. So now they can experiment with like Naz Reid and one of those other physical bigs at the same time. Kind of like starting to build the team around Brandon Miller. We saw his rise last year. Even like Miles Bridges, who's I mean had some questionable troubles with the law, but I mean he's playing quality minutes. And then even Colin Sexton now, and obviously Con Knippel, their star rookie. I like this team a lot now going forward. I think they're not by any means going to be a contender pushing for a ring or anything right away, but definitely can be like a perennial playoff team if you ask me. Like they could at least be like a perennial play-in contending team and make it out the play-in if you ask me. So pretty good trade for them. But I don't know about the Timberwolves side of things. It's going to take a lot of moves for this to actually pan out in the future.
Yeah, I'm gonna give like my only like hot take like regarding this trade is like the is that the Hornets are gonna improve like this year. The Hornets will be better than they were like last year in terms of like seeding or wins. At least in terms of like playoff vision, I'm pretty sure this team will be a playoff team next year. I just think they're going to be
Yeah.
better without a chronic loser on their team. So we'll see what happens. But that's going to do it for this episode. So a lot of good NBA trades so far. Hopefully we still have a lot more. And then we'll react to like whatever comes up next, and then we'll do a couple more episodes like coming up soon. So thanks for listening.